Seoul is currently hosting its Spring Festival of Chamber Music, directed by Kang Dong-Suk, who held his first concert at the tender age of 8 before venturing overseas to further pursue his passion for the violin with renowned orchestras and conductors. Critics have called Kang one of the world's greatest violinists, given his flawless technique and perfect bow arm that produce some of the most beautiful sounds. So what are some of the highlights of this year's Seoul Spring Festival of Chamber Music? What does Director Kang believe is the appeal of chamber music? And what message does he care to share with those who wish to walk his path? Welcome to Issues and Insiders. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Korean violinist Kang Dong-Suk, who is currently directing the Seoul Spring Festival of Chamber Music. Director Kang, a very warm welcome to you.
Nice to be here.
Right. Director Kang, let's begin with a few words then about this year's Seoul Spring Festival of Chamber Music.
Well, this is our 18th year. In the beginning, it was just about the only chamber music festival in Korea, on a large scale like this. And over the years, I think we have contributed, luckily, that to spread, to make people understand that chamber music is something, something very interesting and even more interesting than hearing just one artist in a recital. So it's taking a long time for people to realize that. But I think the misconception that they had about chamber music is, I think it's changing slowly. So that's a good thing, and very happy that we are able to continue this festival, for 18 years now.
Right, as you mentioned, Director Kang, the festival itself, it was launched in the year 2006.
Yes.
What was the initial purpose of this launch? Was it to address public misconception, to raise better awareness about chamber music?
Yeah, that's, as I said, there was no such thing as chamber music festival in Korea at the time. And, I used to go to different chamber music festivals in America and Europe, and even a small size city, they have a chamber music festival like this. And so that was something that I've been wanting to maybe create in Korea and introduce chamber music in Korea. And also on a personal level, I enjoy playing chamber music, and I learn a lot from chamber music also. So it was for kind of selfish reason that I wanted to do something about chamber music.
But it's a good selfish reason, right? Director Kang, I understand that this year you're featuring a larger group of performers compared to previous years. Could you tell us a bit about the performers this spring and their reaction perhaps to performing here in South Korea this year?
Yeah, every year we have a theme, and this year's theme is the more the merrier. So that means we have bigger groups, bigger ensembles, more than in the past. So when you have a festival like this, it's easier to organize big ensembles. So the audiences don't get too many opportunities to hear this kind of the pieces that are programmed this year. So there will be many sextets, septets, and octets and things like that you normally don't hear very much. And because of that, we have more performers also this year.
Right, good to know. I heard a total of about 66 performers then. Yeah. Director Kang, in an interview with the local media at the height of the pandemic and right before your festival in 2020, which by the way took place in the autumn, I understand,
yes,
you claimed it is the musician's duty to show the magic of live performances to audiences despite difficulties. First then, what was the festival back in the year 2020 like at the height of the pandemic, and were you able to share the magic of music with the audience back then?
Yes, we had to cancel the festival in the spring because of, that was the height of the pandemic. So instead of canceling completely, we decided to postpone this, to the fall, and so we had to, of course, reduce the number of programs and make it smaller, on a smaller scale. And we had to, of course, respect all the restrictions, and we were wearing masks, and all the audiences, there were empty seats in between, and so we did it, and for musicians, it was such a relief and such an emotional experience, because they were deprived of the the performances and the music, during, I don't know, 6 months at least, or something like that. So from both performance point of view and audience point of view, it was a very emotional gathering, and it worked out very well. So
Right.
we were able to. So I was so glad that we were able to continue this despite all the problems. Yeah.
Director Kang, do you remember the balcony performances by quarantine musicians in Italy, where they took the balcony to perform their music because they were quarantined? I thought that was a very emotional performance as well.
A lot of things happened during the
It was very
pandemic.
beautiful.
Yeah, I have some friends who did many things, and did the video things and posted in social media and all that sort of thing. So yeah, there was, for some people, it was a very creative period.
It really was.
Yeah,
The power of music, I saw it in its full force during the pandemic. Director Kang, the trademark, if I may, of the Seoul Spring Festival is the outdoor concert at the Hanok residence of the late Yoon Po-sun. What do you believe is the significance of this particular performance?
Well, I think it's the combination of the venue. This place is so special. In the middle of modern Seoul, to have this kind of, unbelievable house is something that you cannot find elsewhere. And because of that, I think people are more interested in this concert than other concerts even. So
Because of the setting?
Yeah, because of the setting. And from performance point of view, it's not necessarily very easy to perform outdoors, so, but it's something unique, and it's been very successful, so we continue to do that every year.
Director Kang, has there been a shift perhaps in public interest in the Spring Festival over the course of 18 years?
Well, that's what we aim for, it was a slow process, but I think, as I said in the beginning, that people are less perhaps afraid of discovering chamber music. They have this idea that chamber music is something heavy, something difficult to understand, and they are afraid to experiment that. So I think it's that kind of thing. The mentality has changed over the years, I think, and as a result, also there are many more chamber music concerts and even smaller festivals and all that. So there are many opportunities now to hear chamber music. Perhaps a little bit uneven sometimes. The quality is not the same and all that. But I think there are enough opportunities if people are willing to go and enjoy chamber music.
Right, and that being said, Director Kang, simply speaking, what do you suppose is the appeal of chamber music?
Well, for us, musicians, it's a lot of fun, playing with other musicians, other colleagues, and we learn from each other. And I often compare this to sports, like team sports, like soccer or baseball or something, rather than individual, the sports, like tennis or something. So I think for us it's more fun to play with others and interact, And I think the audience also will find that you go to one concert and you discover more than one or two musicians, and so many different kind of artists, and as well as the repertoire, you know, it's enormous, the chamber music repertoire. So it's different combinations, you know, with strings and winds, piano, and all different combinations, and so that's the appeal, I think, you know. And being a violinist, you know, the repertoire is rather limited, you know, compared to piano, and so when you perform, you tend to perform the same thing over and over again. And although there's enough repertoire to play different pieces, but usually you end up playing the same kind of things because that's what the people want to hear, you know. So I think it's very interesting to discover chamber music repertoire, which you know is kind of endless, you know.
And staying with that, what has been the impact of chamber music on you as a person?
You know, I went to America to study when I was 13, and my first chamber music experience was in America when I was 14, and that's when I really discovered chamber music, and I thought, oh my God, you know, I should have done this, you know, like a few years back already, and my friends, the violinists who, you know, who were same age as I was, and they had, you know, they already had a lot of experience as a chamber musicians, you know. So so that's when I realized that it's important, you know, that musicians start thinking about chamber music, and because it's something you learn a lot from that. You know, you learn about music first of all. You know, it's not like just technical achievement that you're looking for, but you learn music, and it's a whole, it's an experience, you know. You learn to deal with different people also. You have to make compromises, and you know, it's a life experience that I think it helps helps you to become a more complete musician, you know, and also have you know, they have this opportunity and to have a broader horizon as a musician.
So you do mature in the process of that experience as well.
Yes. So that's very important, especially for the students, you know. So that's why I always encourage students to study chamber music and also go hear chamber music concerts.
Director Kang, do you come from a family of musicians?
Not really. My father, they love music, but my father was an amateur guitar. He played the harmonica and things
because
like
you had your first concert at the age of 8, and I was wondering, how did your music career begin? That's a very young age.
You know, at the time, it was a kind of fashionable thing, you know, that every household had a piano, and, you know, all the families, they wanted their children to play, you know, to learn music and all that. So, so that's, you know, there was nothing unusual about my debut as a musician, you know. So.
But you must have had some talent then, because listening to you talk about music and also learning about the reality that you started at the age of 8 makes me think like talent needs to be innate.
Yeah,
do you have to be born
I
with
was
talent?
actually probably younger, about 6, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're probably born with talent then.
Well, I mean, you need talent also, but you know, you cannot achieve something without talent. But at the same time, without hard work, you know, you cannot go anywhere either. So. It's a combination of the two.
Would you say it's 50-50 then? 50% of talent and 50%
yes,
of practice?
Maybe.
Not 99% of perspiration, 1% of inspiration or talent?
No, that doesn't exist. Yeah.
Director Kang, do you believe Korea has been noting remarkable advances in recent years because perhaps of the dedication of the students themselves as well as their families? How do you explain the recent remarkable advances that we've been witnessing?
Well, I think it's a combination of talent and hard work, especially hard work as far as you know, all the Asian the students are concerned. You know, it used to be exclusively Jewish affair. You know, like Jewish families, loved music, and everybody played music, and all the great violinists used to be Jewish and all that. But things have changed. When I first went to America, there were very few Asian students, studying music and all that. So there was a lot of prejudice also. They say, oh yes, Asian musicians, especially Japanese musicians, because they got there before Koreans. So they were saying, Japanese musicians, they are very good technically, but they don't understand the Western music and things like this. Stereotype, comments. But now, I mean, everywhere you go, you cannot ignore Asian, students and musicians. So, over the course of 30, 40 years, things have changed completely.
Right. And that being said, Director Kang, what message perhaps would you like to share with those who wish to walk the same path that you're walking?
Well, I think now that as all the Asians are so successful in classical music, I don't think they need my advice for, because it used to be that we had no choice but to go abroad to study, because if you wanted to be accomplished musician, there was no choice. But now, as you know, there are many Korean students who only study it here and go on to win big major international competitions. So things have changed a great deal. But I think it's important at one point though to go to the West, America, Europe, whatever, and perhaps experience the atmosphere and the culture and all that, because after all, that's where the Western music comes from. So
right, and to broaden your horizons, of course. Yes, Director Kang, what do you propose perhaps to allow for greater interactions with the broader public and classical musicians?
I don't know. There's no simple answer to that, and
there isn't.
There have been many attempts, in the past to spread the classical music to people who don't normally have opportunities to hear classical music and all that, and also some musicians do a lot of crossover thing, the music and all that. But in some cases, I think they do too much compromise, and in trying to reach people, ordinary people, I think they lower the level of music making or send this wrong message. And so I think it's important to keep that integrity. At the same time, try to, by performing well, I think that's, even if the music is not perhaps so easy in the beginning, I think eventually, you'll catch up with them, and I think, you don't need a training to understand Western music, and I think when it's performed well, I think it goes to your heart directly. I think there's no training for that.
Because it's a universal language,
yes,
they
exactly,
say, music.
Yeah.
Right. Director, what are some of your future plans as a musician?
Musician. Well, I just keep doing what I've been doing and try to do better. And I don't have any enormous, gigantic ambition to do something that they haven't done in the past. So I just hope that something like this festival will continue to prosper and reach bigger audience and be more successful, in the future.
Right, and the Seoul Spring Festival, of course, is currently going on as we speak. Is there a particular performance that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, each program is different, and I think it all depends on your taste. Also, it's for me to say which is more interesting or that is a little more difficult. It's like asking, a mother, which child is your favorite, something like that. But there are some special concerts like the family concert, which is open to children, and I mean, all the concerts are open to children also, but this is especially for children and the families, so we have some normal music, and this year we have a mime, who is coming, and a wonderful mime. So he'll be performing at the family concert, and we talked about the special concert at Yunboson residence, so
at the Hanok residence.
That kind of thing, yeah. So.
It really does sound like the more the merrier then. All right, Director Kang, thank you so much for making the time to be here live with us.
Thank you.
Right, well, on that note, we end this edition of Issues and Insiders. As always, thank you for watching.